Hi, my name is Bob Pohl. I'm from Winchester Industries, manufacturer of the Bristol window. Today we're going to be learning about not only the Bristol window, but how you as a sales representative will be able to use this product and the program that your company has put together to develop a program for yourself that will allow you not only to make money, but also to help homeowners solve a problem that they have. You know, it's a great time to be in the window business. Everywhere you read, you're reading about alternative energy, you're reading about energy savings, you're seeing government programs that are designed for homeowners to increase the efficiency of their homes. With the Bristol window and the programs that your company offer, you are giving homeowners a value that they cannot get anywhere else. You know, the industry has gone through a lot of changes over the last several years. There have been many window companies that have come and gone, companies that have been around for years that are no longer with us today. Yet we at Winchester Industries have been able to stick with it and actually prosper during these times. And why is that? Because of a strong management focus and a consistent philosophy of offering homeowners a great value, something they can't get anywhere else. Your company has chosen the Bristol product because they know that homeowners are looking for something that offers them a great value. There's lots of people out there that depend on price to make a sale. That's not what we believe in, nor is that what your company believes in. So we're going to spend some time, my colleague Don Santello and I, discussing what you have to offer the homeowner, how to present it to the homeowner, and how you'll be able to demonstrate that value so that they understand what they're getting from you and your company. We're going to start with Don Santello. He's going to lead us through the beginning parts of the 10 steps to the sale. I'm going to step in later and we're going to talk about some of the meat and potatoes of the product itself so that you have the way to demonstrate to the homeowner the value of what you offer. So without anything else, we're going to go right to Don Santello. Take it away, Don.
Hi, my name is Don Santillo. I'm with Winchester Industries. Today we're going to talk about using the Bristol window as a vehicle for not only helping customers in a time when energy costs are just skyrocketing, but also helping you make a lot of money doing it. Now, it's going to be a window demo primarily. However, we're going to do it in the context of a 10-step selling system. Here's why we're going to do it that way. Think about why a customer is letting you into their home. Somebody called them and set up an appointment for you to go in and give a no-obligation demonstration of your products. So the customer actually is expecting the information on your products, they want to hear all about it, they want to know what it's going to cost, and then they fully expect that you're going to leave. You're going to give them an opportunity to think about this so they can call you back and let you know if they want to buy or not. On the other hand, our goal is to go in and give a demonstration, make them an offer so we can conclude the buying decision the night we're there. Therefore, you need a systematic selling way to get this accomplished. Now, if you think about what Dave Yoho said many years ago when he invented a selling system, he said, "The sale is the natural conclusion to the successful completion of all of the steps to the sale." Zig Ziglar, a modern-day teacher of home improvement selling, also added that 85% of your orders will be achieved relatively easily. That is, without a lot of hard closing at the end, if you give a spectacular demonstration. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold this window demonstration into the 10 steps of our selling system. Now, here in a nutshell is what the system is. It starts with entry. It gets you in. It talks about a warm-up. Then we talk about measuring and creating need. We're going to touch upon these things briefly. Then we talk about a company story, the alternatives a customer has in the marketplace. Then we're going to get heavy into the window demonstration. Then we'll talk about the pre-close and the closing sequence where we add urgency into the customer's decision to buy from us. And if you can learn all of these 10 steps to the sale, you are going to do well for both your customers and yourself. If you can have an attitude about entry, you can take all the selling pressure off your back. So many salesmen think when they're walking up to the front porch that all of the pressure is on them. They have to make a sale, they have to make a sale. Let me give you a new way to look at this. There's no pressure to make a sale. Your job at step one is onefold: to get in this house to give a demonstration, period. If you give a demonstration step by step, the sales will take care of themselves. Okay, let's talk about what you need in order to get this 10-step system off the ground. First of all, there's a lot of tools you need. Your company provides you with a great many things. They're all necessary and they're all useful. First of all, you're going to need a complete window case here. Now, you don't bring this in with you, but you must have it available so that you can bring it in when the time is right to set it up and get the customer excited about it. We have a beautiful parts case that's just full of all kind of things that are going to make the customer feel secure. They're going to think the window is expensive, which it is, but this is going to help you get that across. You have a corner cut, you have parts and pieces, sill, all of the other things. You have a light, a radiant heat source here. You have 4 pieces of glass. You're going to be able to take the customer through a complete explanation of what's available in the marketplace. We're going to show you how to use some low-tech tools to explain a high-tech proposition of low-E glass using a jelly jar and a thermos bottle. And the last sales aid you're going to use before you leave the home is this miniature furnace or radiant heater. Now, of course, we're going to give you a photo album. Wonderful, wonderful tool that's going to help you get the customer to understand what it is you need them to understand through using pictures. It is true, a picture's worth 10,000 words. We're going to give you a presentation book that will keep you on track so that you'll be able to follow right along with the 10 steps right from the first lead you run. Naturally, in your briefcase, you need all your contract forms, all your credit forms, and any other thing that your company requires you to get signed while you're in the home. Now, here's how we're going to help you learn this. First of all, this tape is going to help you. If you sit and listen to it, if you sit and take notes, if you absorb the information. After all, teaching tools such as this book and this tape, and even your own sales trainer, can only provide 50% of the learning experience. You have to provide the rest. This is in writing, much of what we're going to talk about today. So when you're done listening to this tape, take this learning manual home so that you can learn the 10 steps. Not only is the system in here, there are even words that you can get right in to your mind and use the vocabulary we provide to you if you like. Now the second step, of course, is warm-up. Now, there's no way to teach a warm-up to anybody because it's a very personal thing. It has to adjust to your personality, your style of dealing with people. And, to a large extent, it has to do with the demeanor of the customer. You have got to find a way to get them comfortable with you, and at the same time, getting you comfortable with them. There's one suggestion in the book I wish to pass on to you. This is an agenda idea that anybody can use to shoehorn themselves into a systematic presentation and also break the ice. Let me read it to you right from the book. Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, let me explain what I usually do, and you let me know if it's okay. First, I'll measure everything and make sure we cover all the things you're looking for in this project. Then I'll give you a 5 to 10 minute advertising blurb about my company, just so you know we're a good company. I have some samples in my car that I'll bring in and demonstrate to you why you'll be proud to have these windows in your home. Then I'll give you an exact cost, what it will take to do this job, either in its entirety or part of the job. That price is going to be good for a period of 30 days. If you fall in love with everything and you're interested in doing something a little sooner, I'll sharpen my pencil a little bit and try to earn your business. All this takes anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. Does that all sound okay to you? Now think about it. Think about what you have achieved when that customer says, yeah, that sounds good. You have now set the stage. In a way of speaking, you have gained control over what's going to happen in the next 90 minutes. You have set the agenda. You've told them you want to look at your windows. You've told them you want to sit and use your book. You've told them it's going to take an hour and a half. Now it can take as long as you need to make this sale. Okay, let's move on to step number 3. Now remember, we're only touching the tips of the iceberg in each of these steps. Step number 3 is called measure, create, need. This is a very, very important step. It actually sets up the window demonstration because you're going to discover problems in this customer's home. You are going to discover all the reasons they have for needing your windows. And remember, if you cannot convince them they need your windows, guess what? Why should they spend their money with you? It's also a wonderful, wonderful selling time. The customer is under the impression you're taking them around their home to get window sizes. Now you are doing that, but you're taking advantage of the opportunity to do some powerful selling. That's why it is imperative that both husband and wife accompany you on the measuring tour. Let me give you an example of why it is such a wonderful selling time. What about a picture window, where you have an opportunity to do more than just replace that picture window with something that looks exactly the same? What if during measuring you were to turn your picture book to the pages where you have bows and bays and simply say to a customer, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you have a lot of options when you get an opening like this. Have you ever thought of putting a bow or a bay in this opening? All they can say is yes or no or ask you another question. Most people respond with, well, we've thought about it, but it would be awfully expensive, wouldn't it? Now remember something, you're still at step 3, so you can play with money as if it's nothing. Your response to that question should be, yeah, it's real expensive. In fact, it may add 1/3 again to the cost of doing this job. But let me show you why so many people buy them. And then you explain why bows and bays are wonderful. Now think about it. If you're successful selling 2 or 3 bows or bay windows a month, that adds $2,000 and $3,000 and $4,000 to those jobs, which not only gives the customer a great deal of pleasure, but it gives your commissions a nice boost, because that extra $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 twice a month adds a great deal of money to your check. And that's what you're in business for. Don't be afraid of using this picture book. Now, what you have to accomplish during this step is you got to remember the reasons people need windows. Now, if you look in your 10-step manual here, it tells you. Memorize them. First of all, people need new windows to cut back on their energy bills. Never before has the need been greater. Secondly, we're going to cut back on their maintenance. This is a window that doesn't require painting. They're going to save money on paint and brushes, and a lot more free time is going to come their way. Third, they're going to be so easy to clean. So as you're going through their home and you discover windows that are hard to clean, your job is to make a big thing out of it. So when you're back down in the kitchen or the living room and you're presenting your easy clean feature, it has tangible meaning to them. You can relate your solution to their problem. Next, you're going to give them products that look gorgeous. Style and beauty is something you point out during the measuring process. Remind them how much nicer new windows would make their home look. And it's also a great time to remind them that windows are not an expense, they're an investment. They actually add to the equity of a home and make a home more worthwhile from a dollar point of view. Okay, let's say we have a real successful measuring tour, we've created need, we come on back to the table. This is a time to get paid for the work you've done so far. Here's what I mean by that. Ask them a qualifying question. I call it the George Jenkins question, because I heard it many, many years ago from a pro who sells a lot of my products. He comes back in, sits down at the table, and says simply to the customer, "Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, thanks for letting me go through your home with you. I think you'd agree with me after checking your windows out that sooner or later you're going to have to do something about changing them out. You'd agree with that, wouldn't you?" What a time to get a yes. Because now you know that you've made a connection that they need what you're going to ask them to buy a little bit later. Now we get into the next step to the sale. We're about to start a company story, but let me give you a little connector. If you look at the presentation book your company gives you, it starts with a series of newspaper articles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or as many as you want to get across to the customer with your local paper's banner headlines on there, all of them saying the cost of heating and cooling is going up 35%, 40%, electricity is going up 12%, heating oil is going up, everything is going up. This is the way to start your presentation off, by getting them to see how important what you're going to do tonight is. So you might say, you know, before I talk to you a little bit about my company and give you that advertising blurb we spoke of, I want to show you why what we're going to talk about here tonight is so important. You may have seen all these articles in the newspaper. Then you show them. I don't care how tedious it seems to you. This is very, very important. This is like laying the foundation. You're letting them know that there's an awful lot of their hard-earned money at stake. Okay. Now you get into your company story, and your pages that you turn will help you do that. Here's why you tell a company story. You got to get them to believe, rightfully so, that dealing with a good company is the beginning of all other good things. If they trust the company, they can trust the products, and they can trust the price. Therefore, the abbreviation of what the company story does for you is this. It tells them that you're a local company. No matter how big you are, you have a local office that can handle any service calls that come up. Second, you tell them you're established. You know, the average home improvement company fails after 13 months in business. You make the point that your company has been around for a long, long time. Bristol windows have been sold since 1983. That's over 20 years. We are an established, responsible company for them to do business with. You want to show them how financially responsible you are. That allows you to have the latest technology and the newest products out. Next, you want to let them know that you are insured. You have all the necessary permits. You're bonded. You're doing business legitimately, and you're insuring them against all the things that can happen when workmen visit their home. Last but not least, you want to sell them on the idea that you have qualified labor. People that know what they're doing. I like to say it this way. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, when our men show up, they're going to come to do your job in a window truck. They're window men. They have all the necessary tools and parts and pieces. It isn't like the large big box stores who sell all kinds of things, and the day they come to put your windows in, maybe a roofer's there to do it for you. We're not like that. We're specialists. Okay, now you get done the company story. And the idea of the company story is you get the customers believing they're dealing with a responsible company. You might get paid by asking the question, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, is this the kind of company that you would trust to do work on your home for you?
Don has done a great job here of bringing us to the point where we're going to start to show the homeowner our product and demonstrate to the homeowner the value of purchasing the Bristol product versus the other alternatives that we have out there. And that's truly what we're trying to do here. We want to eliminate the shop around. We want to be able to show the homeowner why the Bristol product will solve all of the problems that have been encountered during the measure and create need steps. You know, you spend a lot of time in the beginning of the sale developing a relationship with the homeowner. It's an old saying in sales that people buy from people. You've made yourself a friend to these people. You've pointed out to them that there are problems with their windows. You want to do this in a positive way, but people tend to look past things that are in their home and not really see them for the problems that they are because they live with it every day. And they just kind of put that over to the side and, yeah, I'll take care of that someday. So things like windows that are painted shut, they might not notice as a problem. It's our job to point out to them, you know what? If there was ever an emergency and somebody needed to get out through this window, that could be a problem for them. They tend to miss things like missing screens, when they can't vent their home properly and allow fresh air to come in. All of these are problems that you're going to be able to solve for them with the use of the Bristol replacement window. However, we want to make sure that the homeowner understands that the Bristol replacement window not only gives them that, but gives them so much more value than any other replacement window on the market that we need to eliminate all of the other competitors. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend some time going through all the different frame alternatives that they have, because there are many different things that homeowners can do, right? They could buy the Bristol window, or they could buy storm windows. They could buy vinyl windows made by a competitor, which we would call a hollow vinyl window because of the lack of reinforcement. They could buy wood windows. They could buy fiberglass or composite windows. They have many, many options. Again, to eliminate the shop around, we want to reinforce with the homeowner why the Bristol combination of products is the best thing for them. In order to do that, you have several tools. One tool is the Bristol Presentation Book. The Bristol Presentation Book has all the tools built into it that you will need to walk the homeowner through the buying process. In addition, it's been customized by your company to include your company story, because there's a strong company story there. You want to talk about the insurance that you have. You want to talk about the fact that your people are factory trained and install. You want to talk about the fact that when we show up to do a window job, we show up in a window truck. Our installers are window guys. They're not somebody who used to be doing roofs yesterday and maybe tomorrow he's going to be flipping a hamburger. You want to develop a war book as well. Your war book will contain information that pertains to your local competitors. Your local competitors will have flyers, they will have literature, they will have cutaways, they'll have pictures, they'll have things that you can include in your war book to show the homeowner that what your competition is offering is the same old, and you're offering something different. As a professional, you need to understand everything that your competition does almost as well as you need to understand what you do, so that you can relate that information to the homeowner and get them to the buying decision tonight, because they no longer have to shop around or ask for other estimates. You know, many homeowners will tell you that they're on a fixed income. That's a sentence you hear all the time. You know what? I'm on a fixed income. And when it comes right down to it, you know, homeowners are not only on a fixed income, but everybody's on a fixed income, aren't they? You know, you want to relate, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I can relate to that. I understand. You know what? We're all on a fixed income. But being on a fixed income means you only have so much money coming in and so much money going out. And that's pretty much what everybody in the world is like. So when you're talking about a window replacement, that really puts you in a position where you only want to do it once. You know, in my local phone book, there's 40, 50 people in there that have window replacement after their names. How do you choose between those 40 or 50 people? You know, there's lots of different options out there for the homeowner. Your job is to relate to the homeowner exactly why this is the right decision for them, okay? As I said before, there are alternatives that they could have. They could do storm windows. They could do wood windows. They could do composite windows. The other thing they could do is do nothing. And doing nothing is the most expensive option. Homeowners need to understand that. You know, I recently purchased a new vehicle. My old vehicle needed a replacement. I went out and bought a new vehicle. It cost me about $25,000. Now, did I save $25,000 if I didn't buy that vehicle? No, absolutely not. The reason being is I still needed transportation. I still had to get back and forth to where I was going. So I had the cost of the old vehicle because it needed maintenance. It had some problems with the transmission, needed to be taken care of. It needed tires, it got worse mileage, etc., etc., etc. All of those things were the cost of not buying a new vehicle. That's what we refer to as an opportunity cost. For your homeowner, the opportunity cost of not buying new windows has some hard costs and some soft costs. Hard costs, much higher energy bills because their single pane windows just aren't doing the job for them. Drafts, uncomfortable homes to live in, rattling noise, maintenance, having to get up on a ladder to clean them or not being able to clean them at all, missing screens, etc., etc., etc. All of those things are the costs of not doing the window job. Once again, you need to show your homeowner the value of not only replacing the windows, but what they get in return for replacing the windows. But again, they do have other options, so let's talk about them. One of the other options that they have would be to do storm windows. You know, storm windows are still available. They are ancient technology when it comes to windows. However, you look in the phone book, you're still going to find somebody that does storm windows. Storm windows are going to cost that homeowner somewhere around $200 an opening to have installed. What a storm window does is it breaks the wind. That's all it does. When there's a breeze blowing, the storm window keeps that breeze from infiltrating into the house. It doesn't add any insulation value. You can't clean them. When you put a storm window on the outside of the window, they're impossible to clean. So you have more glass to clean and it's harder to get to. So for $200, adding no insulation value, adding no energy savings, and making it harder to clean, I think that we could put that on the no pile, don't you, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner? Next thing you'll want to do is talk to the homeowner about the option of wood windows. You know what? We have a strong kill for wood windows, and we have to have a strong kill for wood windows because wood windows are still about 40% of the residential market. Now, most of that ends up in new construction because of the way wood windows are designed. Wood windows were originally developed as new construction products. And being new construction products, they are going into a home that's not yet built. So you can make those openings any size you want them. However, by making the opening any size you want it, that's not something you can do with an existing home because the existing homes have openings that are already there. So what ends up happening is if you buy a nice new window to go in a replacement application, you'll find that you have to somehow jam it into the opening and do expensive carpentry, trim work, sheetrock work, plaster, paint, wallpaper. All of that stuff is a problem. The two biggest names in wood windows are actually pretty much the two biggest names in the window business out there that you'll run into. Andersen and Pella. Both make a line of new construction windows. Both have tried to get into the replacement window by taking their new construction product and trying to come up with a retrofit application. All of those things haven't solved the big problem of wood windows. And the big problem of wood windows is the maintenance, okay? Wood windows need to be maintained over time. Wood windows need scraping and sanding and painting and revarnishing on an almost regularly basis every 2-3 years. The homeowner who's buying replacement windows, one of the main motivators for a homeowner buying replacement windows is more free time, less maintenance. If you're using, during the initial steps of the sale, one of the tools we use is the survey. And the survey shows what things are important to the homeowners, and now you know where their mind is for replacement windows. And if that homeowner has marked easier to clean and maintenance free as something that is of great importance to them, then guess what? They don't want wood windows because wood windows are not going to provide that for them. The other thing that's on here is a strong warranty. And I got to tell you, wood windows have a huge deficit compared to us when it comes to warranty. A typical wood window warranty is a 10-year frame warranty. Wood windows aren't made with the old growth lumber that they used to be made with 100 years ago. They're made out of trees that are grown on tree farms, and it's soft pine and it rots. It's a problem for the homeowner. And if they're only willing to back it up with a 10-year warranty, then really, how long is it going to last? 11 years, 12 years, 15 years? Remember, your Bristol window comes with a 50-year warranty. On top of all that, the wood window companies are going to ask a lot of money. You're looking at $12, $13, $15, $2,000 per opening by the time you figure out how to put the window in, do the carpentry, do the trim, whatever else needs to be done. So you have a product that requires costly maintenance, has a terrible warranty, is very expensive. Oh, and I forgot to say, most wood windows also have terrible energy U values. If you look at what most wood windows have for energy efficiency, it's about 30% less than the Bristol product that you offer. I think that combination of things, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, is something that would allow us to put the wood windows on the no pile. Wouldn't you agree? Let's put those on the no pile. Let's talk about metal windows. Metal windows are still out there, but you know what? They're mostly a commercial application. Some parts of the country, folks are still using metal for a replacement window application in a residential home, but it's really not something that you'll find very often. They're very expensive. It's got paint that you have to maintain. Wood windows metal windows are strong. They have a strong frame, but that strength comes with a lot of conductivity, and they bring the cold right into the homeowner's home. I think that just based on the fact that you're going to get almost no energy efficiency out of them because of that conductivity and the fact that they add a real commercial look to most people's homes, I think we can take metal windows and put them on the no pile as well. Okay. A growing segment of the industry right now is composite or fiberglass windows, okay? Many manufacturers of fiberglass windows out there. You'll have your Marvin, Integrity, or Infinity line, etc. Fiberglass windows have one huge disadvantage, and that's the fact that you can't weld the fiberglass. You have to maintain it as well. Fiberglass is basically glass and glue. It's glass fibers glued together. So you've got to put some kind of paint or gel coat on there. Has to be maintained. Typically that's not covered by the homeowner's fiberglass window warranty, that paint, so they have to do it, okay? Not only that, but those fiberglass pieces, since they can't be welded, are butt jointed and screwed, and that's where you get the air gaps and you get the air infiltration over time. So that's a big problem for the homeowner. The other option, other than fiberglass windows, would be composite windows that homeowners can choose. Renewal by Andersen is a good example of a composite window. That's a composite made by mixing vinyl and sawdust together. The problem with the Renewal by Andersen is it's a very expensive product for the homeowner to purchase, typically even more expensive than anything we could offer them. Yet it gives them much worse energy efficiency. At the time of filming of this video, the best Andersen Renewal U value out there is a 0.29. So again, we're about 30% better than that U value wise. Homeowner get a better value for their home insulation. Homeowner gets a better value for energy savings, and actually gets a better warranty too, because Renewal by Andersen has the same type of warranty for their composite product that they have for their wood product, a 10-year warranty. Fiberglass windows, composite windows, technology that just hasn't got what homeowners are looking for, and it's not backed up with the kind of warranty that homeowners need. I think we can take composite and wood windows and put those on the no pile as well. Don't you agree? Okay, we've taken the homeowners window shopping right inside their own home. We've shown them wood windows, we've shown them fiberglass windows, we've shown them composite windows. We've gotten them to buy into the fact that, you know what, none of those are going to solve the problems that they have with their current windows in a way that's going to make them happy. So now we're going to talk about vinyl windows, because vinyl windows are what most of your competition sells. Vinyl windows are made out of extrusions. An extrusion is just vinyl that's been forced into a shape under heat and pressure, and it's the parts that we use to build the window out of. You know, people have been making vinyl windows since the 1950s. Vinyl is a great product for windows, and homeowners really like it. And you know why? First of all, maintenance freedom. With a vinyl window, you're never going to have to worry about scraping and repainting or sanding and restaining and all the other things that you have to do with a wood window or a metal window. Vinyl is also extremely energy efficient. It does a great job keeping the homeowner's heat inside their home. It's actually as efficient or more efficient than wood as an insulator. So vinyl has a lot of advantages for the homeowner. But let me ask you, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, by looking at this particular extrusion, can you tell whether this is a good one or a bad one? No, you can't. And guess what? I'm in the window business, have been for years, and I can't tell just by looking at it whether it's a good one or a bad one. However, you turn it to the side, you can start to see some of the things that make it a good extrusion. And I can tell you this is actually a pretty good one. If you look here, you'll see you have multiple chambers all throughout the extrusion and big thick side walls, and each of those adds to strength. So this is a strong vinyl extrusion, much stronger than what most of your competitors are offering the homeowners, and certainly stronger than what the $189 installed guys are offering. So what happens if we're to take even a strong vinyl extrusion like this and subject it to a little bit of heat from the sun? You know, typically your competition has things in their warranties that say they will not cover damage due to exposure to direct sunlight, or they will not cover their window if it's found that natural weathering has caused it to fail, and they'll call natural weathering exposure to direct sunlight. But guess what? You put windows in a home, they're going to be exposed to sunlight all the time, aren't they? Typically, the windows on the south and west sides of the home are exposed to extremes of sunlight. So what we want to do is show the homeowner that even a strong extrusion, when exposed to the sunlight, starts to show some of the problems of vinyl windows. So in order to do that, we're going to use some tools that are here in the demo kit. Inside your demo kit, you have a heat box and you have a hair dryer. And it's a standard hair dryer. It's the same thing that most folks use to dry their hair in the morning. It doesn't get too hot, but it gets hot enough to show the weaknesses inherent in hollow vinyl. So I'm going to take my extrusion, I'm going to put it in the heat box. And I'm going to turn the heater on. Now typically, we're going to let that run for somewhere between 90 seconds and 2 minutes. During the time when you're doing this, you're using your book. Because your book has pages that walk the homeowner through this part of the demonstration. One of the things we talk about here is Tom Silva's rule. There's a page on here that calls in this old house. Homeowners trust this old house. This is what you call a third-party endorsement, because it's not you or me telling them, this is what an expert says. The expert Tom Silva of this old house says he loves vinyl windows. He thinks they're a great deal for the homeowner. But then he goes on to say, don't buy a vinyl window that's more than 26 inches wide. Now you know you've just done a measure with those homeowners and you've measured the windows in their homes. And your homeowners know that as well. And they know that their windows are 30, 36, 40 inches wide. Yet here's an expert telling them, don't buy a vinyl window that's over 26 inches wide. And he actually goes on to say that vinyl will soften and twist at temperatures of 165 degrees. 165 degrees of temperature that's easily reached between a curtain and a window. Now, as I said, we're just using a standard hair dryer here. We're not going to get up to 165 degrees. If we did, you'd burn your hair up. But we're going to simulate what happens with just a little bit of heat here. You know, one of the first companies that did triple pane windows was a company called Thermalguard. And they made a really nice quality product, sold it for a lot of money. Homeowners ended up finding that they had problems after about 6 months. And they had to call back to the company and say, hey, Mr. Thermalguard, I've noticed that my windows aren't closing properly anymore. Hey, Mr. Thermalguard, I've noticed that I've got water leaking in. Can you come take a look at it? So the good folks at Thermalguard went back to these homeowners' homes and took a look at their windows. And here's what they found. Those Thermalguard windows with their triple pane technology failed. just like this vinyl fails after the exposure to just a little bit of heat. The exposure to a little bit of heat from the sun caused their windows to bow and twist. And what happened was water started to collect, air started to leak through, the windows didn't function the way that they were supposed to. So we've seen what exposure to the sun, natural weathering, as it's referred to in your competitors' warranties, can do to a piece of hollow vinyl. It causes it to warp, it causes it to distort, and it causes air infiltration, all things that homeowners aren't going to want over time. But there's another problem with hollow vinyl windows, and that's security. You know, the other day I was watching this show, it was CNN or one of those kind of shows, and on there they were interviewing a guy. He was in jail, he was a professional thief, and they were talking to this guy and asking him, what would make you choose one house to rob versus another? And the professional thief said, you know what, that was easy. One thing I would always look for is hollow vinyl windows. And the guy's like, vinyl windows? Why would you do that? Naturally, being in the window business, it kind of perked my ear up too. And I said, you know, why was this guy looking for vinyl windows? And the guy says, you know what? I have a key to every home that has vinyl windows. And the thief said, this is what I would do. And he pulled out a little apparatus like this, just a lighter and a little torch and an awl. There's maybe $5 worth of material here. I mean, if you're a thief, you can just steal it, right? But he's got about $5 worth of stuff here. And what he did is he did a little demonstration for the interviewer. And the thief took the two pieces and he went like this for a couple minutes. Now let me ask you, if I was a thief and I was standing outside your home, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, and I was doing this, could you hear me? Would I be making a lot of noise? Probably can't even hear it on this video, can you? No. This doesn't make a lot of noise. It's not likely to wake you up. Not likely to wake up the dog or the neighbor's dog or anything else. But if I do this for just a couple of minutes and I come up to our competitor's vinyl window, look at that. I can go right through that vinyl window, flip it over, open the lock, and I'm in the home. This is the key to every home that that professional thief knew, and he also knew that if he was able to get into your home this way, he could average about $1,700 worth of material that is currently in your home that now becomes his. Is that something you want in your home? Ability for a burglar to break in that easy? I wouldn't think so. You know, as a window company, we looked at problems like these. And you know, wouldn't it be a great thing if some smart engineer could come up with a product that retained all the advantages of vinyl, the energy efficiency, the lack of maintenance problems, yet it was burglar proof, and it didn't warp like this? Well, guess what? The engineers at Bristol are the folks who were able to do that. And what they've done is they've engineered a product that is reinforced. Because you know what? Even at Bristol, we can't stop the sun, but we can stop the sun's effects on our windows. We can stop them from sagging and warping. And with a lock design like this, we can stop burglar tools, because there's no way a burglar can poke through here and get through all that reinforcement bar. The Bristol window is offered two different ways. Your sales manager will explain to you which of the two options your company has chosen. But they're both reinforced. They're reinforced with different designs. This version is reinforced with our HDR, high density reinforcement bar. And it has HDR reinforcement bar in the sill, in the sash rails, in the jambs. And that reinforcement helps our product not to fail in the sun, like we just showed your competition's window was. The second version of the product has the reinforcement in the sill, in the sash rails, and then we use an aluminum reinforcement bar inside the jambs. Both of these products are extremely strong and are not going to have the warping problems that we saw in our competitors' products. Your company has chosen one of these two products based on the needs of your local environment. Certain areas of the country are going to require an aluminum reinforcement. Certain areas of the country are going to be much better served with the HDR composite reinforcement. I know that your company has already made a good decision and they'll tell you which one you're using. However, the things that we'll show you pertain to both styles. The reason our product won't warp and bend and twist like the competition's is because we use reinforcement throughout the product. We use reinforcement in our sash rail as well. And you can see inside here that reinforcement bar. That reinforcement bar is strong as steel. There's a piece of it in your demonstration kit. You need to put it in the homeowner's hand. Let them try to bend it. I guarantee that they won't be able to. As a matter of fact, not too long ago, I had a gentleman who tried to bend it like this, and he actually broke his thumb. So don't do that in your home, okay? Now be careful with it. You gotta be careful with something that's that strong. Don't put yourself in danger. The reinforcement bar is throughout the product. And the reason we use the reinforcement bar is because we know that these are places where a vinyl window could fail. So we're going to put quality into the product and make sure that the quality is in there so that the product won't fail. What's our competition do? Well, instead of having a reinforcement bar and a Q4 lock mounted down into that reinforcement bar, what our competition does is puts a couple of cheap cam locks on there with a couple of screws. And screws in a plastic just don't hold. The other problem with screws in a plastic is if I'm a determined thief, not only can I get through there with that pick, but I can also just go in there with a pry bar and pop it open. You can't do that with our product because you have 1, 2, 3, 4 points of contact locking that sash closed. It can't be jimmied. So, putting price to the side, which do you think would do a better job of taking care of the homeowner's possessions, protecting their home? Vinyl or a reinforced piece of vinyl? Of course, the hollow vinyl is not going to do as good a job, okay? Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, for any price, would you want this in your home? I wouldn't think so. Now, by going through these steps with the homeowner, you're able to demonstrate to them the differences between our window and the frame enhancements that we've made and what all your competition has to offer them. But guess what? 87% of any given window is glass. So we need to go ahead and take a look at what their glass alternatives are next. We need to find a way to explain to the homeowner at this point what the different glass alternatives that they have are. Now, I will tell you that this is a great position for you to be in because 99% of your competition is selling double glass, 2 pieces of glass. So if we're able to effectively eliminate double glass as an option for the homeowner, make sure that they say, you know what, that's something for the no pile. Once we've eliminated double glass, we've also effectively eliminated 99% of our competition. Mr. and Mrs. Homer, would you mind if I explained our high technology glass in a low tech way? Because guess what, I'm not an engineer and it's easier for me to explain it this way. Thank you for letting me do that. What I have here is a thermos and a jelly jar. The thermos and the jelly jar are things that are included in your demonstration kit. Make sure that they're in there, make sure they're in good condition because they're important to the story. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, you see this jelly jar? Nothing special about it, right? Just a plain glass jelly jar. Well, guess what? This jelly jar is made out of the exact same glass that the single pane windows in your home are made out of. I could grind them up into little pieces, melt them down, make jelly jars out of them. Conversely, I could take this jelly jar, grind them up, and make new single pane windows for your home. It's the same stuff. What's the big failing of something like this? Well, energy efficiency is the big failing. Because if I was to take some hot coffee and put it inside here and put it outside on a cold winter night, how long would it take for that coffee to become undrinkable? You'll get an answer from the homeowner, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Not very long at all. And you say, you know what, that's right. We tried this back at the office, put it outside. No more than 15 minutes, that coffee was too cold to drink. Conversely, you can take this jelly jar, put lemonade and an ice cube on a hot summer day and stick it outside on the concrete. And how long will it take before that's undrinkable? Again, maybe 10, 15 minutes. You know why? Because there's really not a lot of insulating capability in here. As a matter of fact, this jelly jar can do no better of a job keeping that coffee hot than your single pane windows can keeping the heat inside your home. So that's the technology of the past. Here's a different sort of technology. Now, if I was to take a thermos like this, put my hot coffee inside of it, leave it outside on a cold winter's day, how long would it stay good? 4, 5, 6 hours, maybe even all day it would still be drinkable. Also, if I was to take this thermos, fill it full of nice cold lemonade on a hot day like today, leave it outside, well, guess what? 4, 5, 6 hours later, it would still be nice and cool. And why is that? Well, when you take apart the thermos, you can see the technology that has gone into the development of the thermos. What have I got? I've got silver reflective walls, and it's a double wall. There's 2 walls here. You know, there's different ways that energy moves through a material, like a thermos or a window. One of those is radiant heat loss. Radiant heat loss, I always picture it as like the rays that are coming down and hitting this. And if I have hot coffee inside here, it's the heat rays that are inside that coffee trying to get out and escape. The silver lining here, the silver material that they use, reflects that heat, returns it into the coffee, or if it's a hot summer day, it reflects that heat off and keeps the lemonade protected. So we protect against radiant heat loss here, or radiant heat gain from the sun. The other thing we do is conductive heat loss, because the heat will want to conduct through this material. However, having a double wall, it insulates, there's a layer of dead air that surrounds the interior chamber here. So I've got an interior chamber that's protected from radiant heat loss by having that dead air space, and protected from conductive heat loss as well. So the thermos bottle has technology that's built into it that helps retain energy. It helps keep the energy where you want it to be. It does a much better job than the jelly jar. As a matter of fact, just as the single pane windows represented by the jelly jar don't do a good job keeping energy in your home, windows that would have the thermos technology built into them would do a good job keeping the energy in your home. But if we were to build a window out of thermos material, it'd be a problem, wouldn't it? Because you can't see through it. Nobody would want that in their home. However, the technology here is good stuff for keeping energy where you want it to be. So our engineers, when they originally designed the Bristol window, took a look at this idea and said, you know what, if we could develop a window that thought it was a thermos bottle, that would be a good thing. And that's what we set out to do. So when we designed the Bristol glass pack, we designed it to have the same properties that you find in a thermos bottle, but for a window application. One of the things we looked at was the fact that the thermos bottle had that insulating chamber in there. The Bristol window is designed with 2 air chambers. That's why we use 3 panes of glass. If a thermos bottle has 1 and it does a pretty good job, we reasoned that 2 would do a better job. So we've designed 3 in there. The Bristol window was designed from the beginning as a triple pane unit. And the reason we use 3 panes of glass is simple. The 3 panes of glass allow us to have 2 separate air chambers for insulation. This is a 1-inch overall thickness to the glass pack, and there's also some technology behind that, and I'll tell you why. Inside an insulated glass unit, what you're going to have is a warm side and a cold side. The warm side is the side that's exposed to the inside of the house during the winter. The cold side's on the outside. Inside the glass pack, there's also now 2 layers of air, a warm layer and a cold layer. And just as anyone knows, that warm layer is going to start to heat up. And as that warm layer heats up, it'll start to rise inside the glass pack. It can only get so far because it's a sealed unit. It'll circle back around, pushing the cold air now over to the hot side. That cold air will heat up, pulling the energy out of the home, rise up, go to the cold side. And what ends up happening is inside an insulated glass unit, you develop a circular heat pump, taking the energy from inside your home and moving it to the outside of the home. All of your competition that's making a double pane window is going to have a problem with this convection heat loss. When we designed the Bristol window, we designed it with 2 air chambers, each one 3/8 of an inch wide. And the reason being because scientists have found convection will only take place if it's wider than 3/8. It has to be at least a half an inch before you can develop that circular motion. Well, guess what? All of your competition that offers double pane windows are going to have a convection problem because they all have air spaces bigger than a half an inch between their 2 pieces of glass. So in the design of the glass, we've done something to cut down the heat loss for your homeowner. But there's more. Inside those chambers, we fill it with Alpha 10. What's Alpha 10? Alpha 10 is Bristol's proprietary gas fill to go between the 2 pieces of glass. Let me explain to you a little bit about gas fills and why they work, okay? If you were explaining this to the homeowner, you would say, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, there's lots of things that people can do with glass packs to make one more energy efficient than the other. The original glass packs were just 2 pieces of glass and they had air between them. And then people realized, you know what, if I put a thicker air in there, a denser product, it's going to be harder for that convection to start spinning because it's going to take more heat energy from your home to start pumping it to the outside. So manufacturers came up with stuff like argon. Well, here's how those things compare. If you were to take a bucket and you were to place it on the ground and you were to drop a golf ball into it, that golf ball would hit the bottom of that bucket pretty quickly, wouldn't it? It'd fall right to the bottom. Well, that's like taking a glass pack and filling it with just air. Because inside that glass pack, there's nothing to keep that heat energy from your home to escape right out into the backyard. Nothing slows it down at all. Now, if I was to take that same bucket and fill it full of water and drop the golf ball in, well, the golf ball would still hit the bottom, but it would slow down a little bit as it moved through. That's like taking a glass pack and filling it with argon. The argon slows down the heat before it goes out to the backyard, but guess what? If you just put argon in there, your heat's going to end up in your backyard. Now let's take that same bucket, fill it full of peanut butter, drop the golf ball in. Well, guess what? It's a long, long time before that golf ball gets to the bottom, if it ever gets there. Well, that's like taking a glass pack and filling it with our Alpha 10. Our Alpha 10 is a super insulating mixture of 10 different gases, including argon, but also krypton, and 8 other gases that are all harmless and naturally occurring, but they're super condensed into our window to allow almost no convection of heat through that glass. Let's talk about the glass itself now. Since we did a triple pane design, we're able to offer something that none of your double pane competition could offer either. Your double pane competition only has 2 pieces of glass, so if they're going to use a solar control glass, a low E glass, then they can only really put it on 1 layer. Okay? Typically your competition uses what they call hard coat low E, which is old technology, and they'll put it on 1 layer of glass. We use what we call Solar Band 60. It's a soft coat low E, much higher level of technology. And since we have 3 pieces of glass, we're able to do multiple layers. As a matter of fact, we can do 2 layers here and 2 layers here. 2 layers of low E, 2 layers of low E, versus your competition's 1 cheap layer of low E. Those 4 coats of low E are instrumental in keeping that reflection of heat out of the house during the summertime and back into the house during the wintertime. We also use the BR50 spacer system. The BR50 spacer system is a totally non-metallic, non-conductive spacer, unlike the metal spacers that most of your competition uses. Our BR50 spacer system, being non-metallic and flexible, allows us to do many things that our competition can't do. One of which is fully seal the window all the way around with a flexible seal. That flexible seal keeps our Alpha 10 mixture in there much better than your competition's metal spacers do. As a matter of fact, we're so confident in the technology that we use in our BR50 spacer system that we actually can offer the homeowner a 50-year warranty against glass failure. Your competition typically can't do that. In fact, they won't do that. So we've talked about some of the technology that goes into the glass pack here. We've got our triple pane design. We've got our 1-inch overall space with 2 3/8 dead air chambers. We've got our BR50 spacer system. We've got our Alpha 10 gas mixture. And we've got our 4 coats of low E. But what does all that mean to the homeowner? All that Bristol technology is going to allow the homeowner to do one thing, and that's save money on their energy bills. Those combinations of technologies are designed specifically to maintain the heat inside someone's home. There's an easy demonstration for you to be able to demonstrate that to the homeowner. There's some tools that are in your demonstration kit that are right here, and we're going to show the homeowner how that works. This is a piece of single pane glass. Single pane glass, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, is exactly what's in your home now. Okay? I include this in here because this is what you currently have, and I want to be able to show you exactly what it is that your home is currently experiencing. And the way I'm going to show that is by using this method right here. I have here a radiant heat source. I'm using a sun lamp to demonstrate the same type of energy that your furnace puts out every day. And that radiant heat that's coming out of there, I'm measuring on this meter. But you can come right up here and feel it. Come on up here and feel it. Can you feel? Yeah, you can feel it. You feel how hot that gets. You can't keep your fingers in front of that very long or else it gets really warm. And if you look at the meter, you'll see that the meter's reading about 400 BTUs. BTU is the same thing you pay the energy company to heat your house with. Now, single pane glass was the original technology that was developed to keep heat inside homes. Thousands of years ago, they developed single pane glass, and it's been in use for a long, long time. If I take single pane glass and I put it in between that heat source and my meter, is it effective? Well, yeah. If you look at that meter, we've gone from 400 BTUs down to 360 BTUs, or we've saved 40 BTUs. If you put your hand on this side of the meter, you can feel, there's the heat. Now you can start to feel it. But Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, you can see that it has done a good job of keeping some of that heat in. It's gone from 40 BTUs down to 360 BTUs, or a 10% improvement. But that also means that 90% of the heat is now escaping out into your backyard, and that's what you don't want. The second type of technology that was developed for windows was double pane technology. This is glass pack 2.0, if you will. By taking 2 pieces of glass and bonding them to a metal spacer system, I've created an insulated glass unit. You know what? These have been around for quite a few years. Some people still use this technology. If you were to buy windows, say from Window World, you'd spend about $350, $400 a window, and this is what you'd get. Okay? Double glass, what we call no technology. Okay? If I was to take this and I was to put this in my heat test and ask you to hold your hand there, it takes a few minutes. There you can feel the heat. There it is. You can start to feel it right there. And if I look at my meter here, I can see that it has improved some, because my 400 meter has gone down to 320. It's double what the single glass has done. It's actually improved to 80 BTUs being retained in. But if it goes from 40 to 320, it's 20% effective, but that also means it's 80% ineffective, and still 80% of the heat that you're paying to heat your house is escaping through your windows and out into the backyard. My competition will also offer you an upgraded technology. Okay? This window will typically cost you somewhere around $700 a unit installed. And what we've got here is we've got a double pane glass where we've added a layer of low E, and then we've filled our chamber with argon. Again, about $700 installed. If I was to take this glass and put it into our test, we'll find that my competition's glass with the technology does even do a little bit better. It goes from 400 BTUs down to 300 BTUs. So it's now 25% effective in keeping your heat energy inside your home. But guess what? That also means it's 75% ineffective. Here's our technology, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. Bristol triple glaze, BR50 spacer system, alpha 10 gas fill, 4 layers of Solar Band 60. Let's see what happens when we put this in. Isn't that amazing? 90% of the energy that you're paying to heat and cool your home stays inside because of the Bristol glass. As a matter of fact, I could take that glass pack, hold my hand on the side there. You know, when we came into the home, I noticed you had some beautiful Disney pictures of when you and your family went on vacation there. We could talk all about it. You can tell me about every ride you went on, and the whole time I could stand here and hold my hand on this, and I would never feel that heat get through the Bristol glass. Whereas we saw a few minutes ago that with the single glass or the double glass, or even the double glass with technology, it only takes a minute or so before you start to feel that heat coming through. You can even feel what a good job that Solar Band 60 Low E is doing if you hold your hand right here. You can feel the reflected heat bounce off that glass and inside and hit your hand. Bristol technology is designed to keep the hot side hot, the cold side cold. Just what you want your window to do. The other advantage of the design of our windows will be to protect your home from ultraviolet rays, because ultraviolet rays are going to come into your home through your standard windows, and they do things like fade your furniture, fade your carpet, kill your plants. They're not helpful, and you can see I'm showing how ultraviolet rays are detected by this black light. And if I was to take my competition's windows, you'll see they don't offer very much protection at all from the ultraviolet rays. Our Bristol glass technology, however, offers great protection from the ultraviolet rays. Your furniture lasts longer, your carpets last longer, your plants are healthier. Just another example of the technology that we've built into our windows. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, we've just shown you 4 different technologies that exist for windows. Starting off with the single pane glass that's currently in your home, all the way up to the Bristol triple pane technology. Now let me ask you a couple questions. Of these 4 technologies, which do you think will do the best job of keeping the energy inside your home where you want it to be? Of course, you pick the Alpha 10 Bristol window glass pack, and guess what? You're right, that will do the best job. Now, let me ask you a second question. Of these 4 technologies, which do you think is the most expensive? You know what? That's what most people say. They think ours might be the most expensive, but the true answer is the single pane glass that's currently in your house is your most expensive glass. And why is that? Because with this glass here, you're guaranteed to continue to have to write a check to the energy company every month, just like you showed me the energy bills that you currently have. And you're spending $300 and $400 a month to heat your house with this, whereas you'll be able to save substantially with the use of our Bristol glass. Many experts have said that you can expect a 20 to 25% energy savings if you use an Energy Star window. Well, guess what? The Energy Star glass was the one that I showed you a few minutes ago that was 25% effective. Remember how ours was 90% effective? Which do you think is going to do a better job? So if the Energy Star glass can save you 20 to 25% of your energy bills every month, just imagine how much more you'd be able to save with the Bristol technology. After everything that we've talked about today, between seeing how hollow vinyl fails and how double pane glass doesn't work, let me ask you, how many more estimates are you going to need from people who are going to offer you hollow vinyl and double glass? With the frame alternatives part of the presentation and the glass alternatives part of the presentation, we've shown the homeowner the various technologies that are available to them. And we've gotten them to agree that the combination of technologies that are in the Bristol product are the best technologies to solve the problems that they have. We've also started to show them some of the value that's built into the Bristol product, because guess what? People buy value. They don't always buy just based on price. Now we have an opportunity with our product demonstration to tie everything that we've done so far together, to show them what we have and compared to what everybody else does. It's also a great time to do price conditioning, because as we're going through the various features and benefits of the product, we can show the homeowner how we build a little bit of extra value in there, but that little extra value does add a little bit to the price. One of the best tools that you have in your demo kit is this little piece right here. We call it the magic bag. And what's the magic bag? The magic bag is simply a collection of parts and pieces that we put into the Bristol window that'll help you explain that value to the homeowner. First, in your demonstration, you want to be able to explain to the homeowner what we're going to do on the outside of the home when we install the window. And you're going to start by showing them how on the existing opening of their house, they've got wood. And what we're going to do when we come in there is we're going to wrap all that wood with a nice aluminum trim. We're going to cap it all the way around. It's going to be purpose bent. It's going to fit perfectly. It's going to complement the exterior of their home. And it's going to give them a maintenance-free frame for that window to sit inside of. The cheap window companies can't do that. Do you think that that guy that advertises in the paper for $189 is going to put all that extra work into it? Of course he isn't. There's probably $189 just in that capping alone. In order to show the homeowner how we do that, again, you go to your picture book. And inside your picture book, we have beautiful pictures that show windows nicely installed, capped on the outside, and making sure that the homeowner realizes that you're going to give them the full package. Doesn't the exterior of this window look great? You'll see it's a nice soft white. That's because we're using pure virgin vinyl. We use pure virgin vinyl throughout our product because with virgin vinyl you don't get the problems inherent in the cheap windows. Those guys that sell windows for $350, $400 installed, they're using reprocessed vinyl throughout their products. And reprocessed vinyl is basically old ground up pieces of vinyl and pieces of big wheels and trash cans and everything else that might have gotten recycled out at the bin. And they grind it up and they remelt it into shapes, and you can tell those windows typically because they're a blue-white or an off-white when they get started, and then a couple years down the road they turn even bluer or actually turn pink. And the reason being is because the sun starts to work on that reprocessed vinyl and it just cooks the colors right out of it. Not only does it cook the color right out of it, but it also takes things out of it like impact modifiers. And impact modifiers are things that we put into our vinyl to make sure that it withstands any kind of impact that it may get through a falling icicle or a kid playing with a ball. With the cheap hollow vinyl windows that use reprocessed vinyl, the sun's going to cook those impact modifiers right out of it. They're not going to stand up as long as ours will. First thing you notice on the outside of the window is the screen. We've designed our Bristol screen with some technology that you won't find in other manufacturers' screens. The first is the ability to take the screen off from inside the window. Our window is designed to easily be removed and taken inside the house so it can be cleaned. Every spring, you're not up on a ladder outside your house trying to get your screens off, bring them back down, and hopefully not destroying them or hurting yourself in the process. So nice and easy to remove, take it inside, you can clean it when you want. The screen frame itself is made out of a heavy-duty extruded aluminum. And why do we use extruded aluminum? Well, when I ask folks how long they want their screen to last, typically they say, we'd like our screen to last as long as the window. So we've given them an extrusion on our screen that we expect to last as long as the window. And as a matter of fact, we even guarantee that it will. Our window screen is covered by the same 50 years that we cover the rest of the window. 50 years on the screen frame, 50 years on the rest of the window. What parts of the screen frame allow us to offer that kind of warranty? Well, let me show you. First of all, as I said, heavy-duty extruded aluminum. If you take this, you can hear how solid that is. Our competition typically uses something like this. This is what they call roll form aluminum, and it's just a cheap beer can, soda can type aluminum rolled into a shape. Nothing to it at all. Their cheap aluminum bends really easy. And that's why typically when you're in a home, you'll find that many of the screens are missing, because it was made out of something like this. After a couple months, it got loose, started to rattle. First big breeze came, it blew it away, and it's down on the farm 2 miles away. Our screens are going to last for the entire time because we make them to last for the entire time. So, heavy-duty extruded framing material all the way around. In the corners, we use our Lexan corner key. And these Lexan corner keys are in each corner of the screen, keeping them nice and tight, again, so it doesn't rattle around and make noise, nor will it gap and pull apart and fail. Lexan is a material we use throughout the Bristol window. Lexan is one of those space-age materials that have found their way into common usage. Lexan typically found in motorcycle helmets, football helmets, pay phones. You could never break one of those. We use Lexan throughout our window because we know it gives the homeowner great durability over time. Because in purchasing a Bristol window, we make sure that you're purchasing a durable product. So Lexan corner keys are used in each corner of the screen frame. You'll notice that our screen frame, each piece is different. And the reason each piece of our screen frame is different is because each piece has its own function. If we were like the cheap guys, I could take a piece of roll form aluminum, just bend it into a shape, and stick some corner plastics in it, and that would be good enough. But we knew that each part of the frame had to have its own function. So what we've done is we've designed down in the bottom an extruded lift rail so that the screen is always easy to lift up and down. Nice and heavy duty, not like those plastic tabs that my competition typically puts in there. This side has heavy-duty stainless steel spring clips, and these spring clips keep our frame nice and tight inside that opening, so it's not rattling around loose in the breeze, again blowing off and ending up down on the next farm, or making a lot of noise and keeping you awake on a windy night. This side has a heavy-duty extruded stop to lock it into place and keep it nice and strong inside that opening. And you'll notice on the top we have a bug seal so that the bugs can't go around the screen and into your home. We put a bug seal down on this bottom part too, and the one on the bottom is specially designed to allow water to weep out, because there's no sense in having it sealed up here and then have water roll up and inside your home like some of our competition can allow. The screen itself, the screen fabric itself, is a fiberglass fabric that's covered with PVC. It's a PVC coated fiberglass. We call this product memory mesh, and let me show you what it can do. Our memory mesh fabric is designed so that even if it gets slightly damaged, just a little bit of rub like that, and it pulls itself back into shape. Why? Because the PVC coating that we put on top of the fiberglass mesh allows us to pull it right back into shape, so you don't have to worry about it getting easily damaged. A little bit of extra money involved in there to make it that way, yeah, probably costs an extra $1 or $2, but Don't you want to have a screen that's not going to get all out of shape on you? Of course you do. Now that we've moved the screen out of the way, we can see the sill design of the Bristol window. The sill design of the Bristol window is really, really different than what you find in most windows. Typically, our competition will either have just a slope sill that's a flat piece right here, or they'll have what they call a capture sill, which is a great big gutter in the bottom, which ends up attracting and holding water that can eventually seep into your home. We've designed our window with a positive 8-degree slope to the exterior so that any water that does come here will always naturally flow to the outside of your home, and you never have to worry about water coming up the slope and inside. We've actually designed multiple steps inside here as well, and the reason for those multiple steps is simple. You know, if you're ever walking through a city and you can feel the wind blowing on you, as you're walking through the big buildings, and boy, you can feel that. But you turn a corner and you go around a building and suddenly you don't feel the wind anymore. Did the wind stop? No, the wind didn't stop. But wind can't go around a 90-degree angle. So by putting multiple steps in here, we are slowing that wind down so it doesn't infiltrate into the home. It's been measured that each bend slows the wind velocity down by 50%. So we stop that wind before it's able to infiltrate into your house. The sill design of the Bristol window is one of the reasons that this window is tested as a DP50. And DP50, that sounds like technical jargon, but really what it means is this window had to be tested to 190 miles an hour for wind infiltration. Now I guarantee if you got 190 mile an hour winds, you got a whole other problem you have to worry about versus just worrying about your windows. But we successfully passed that test. We don't have to worry about a couple of cold breezes coming in on a cold night and infiltrating into your home and making you uncomfortable while you're sitting there trying to enjoy yourself. At the back of the Bristol sill, you'll see this material here. And this is our synthetic wool pile weather stripping. And you'll notice that little noise that it makes when I flip it like that. We use Mylar to back up our synthetic wool pile weather stripping. And the reason we reinforce our weather stripping with Mylar is because Mylar has great energy retention characteristics. Mylar, another space age technology originally developed by NASA, and it's the blankets that the astronauts would carry out in space with them to keep them warm. Remember the movie Apollo 13 and they're huddling and trying to keep warm? Well, that would be a Mylar blanket that they would use. Typically nowadays, people who do that extreme skiing or hiking or any kind of outdoor sports where they may be exposed to the weather and elements, will carry a little Mylar blanket with them because it folds up, fits in their pocket, yet it can cover their whole body and it keeps the heat in. We use that same technology in our weather stripping because of the energy efficiency that is inherent in the Mylar, and we put it throughout our weather stripping. Does it add a couple extra bucks to the window? Yeah, sure it does. However, I'll give you a weather stripping that acts as an insulator, blocking out the energy where you want it to be. When I close the window sash, you'll see that this rubber sweep seal locks into place. And it is our first barrier against wind-driven rain. Again, a positive slope to the exterior. It keeps the rain from blowing up and inside the house, and as rain comes down, it naturally sheds it off. We use a virgin rubber sweep seal. Many of our competitors use what they call a compression seal, and a compression seal would be a rubber tube that's got some foam inside. Problem with those is they dry up and get brittle over time, and eventually you get a gap down here that it can allow air and water to come into your home. It's also a great place for a burglar to go in and underneath and hit it with a crowbar and pop that window right open. Those are things you're not going to have to worry about with the Bristol window. You know, when I look at this sill design, one of the things you can't really see in this sample, but it's really important to your installation in your home, and that's in the design of the sill itself as it's mounted into your home. When we mount this window into your home, your existing opening is typically going to have a little bit of a slope to it like that. Homes with old wood windows, the wood windows were designed to try to push the water out of the home, and they would be built like that. So when our installer installs this into your home, he's going to have to do something to take up that gap in the front. Most window companies give you a little piece of cheap plastic. It's L-shaped. It goes in there, you put it in there with a gobba caulk, and then after a couple of months the gobba caulk dries up, that piece of plastic falls out on your lawn, you get a sill that sags in the front, and then in the corners the spiders and bees move in and make a home. With our technology, we give you a heavy-duty extruded aluminum piece that fits right in the front, and we call this piece a sill angle. So that sill angle is going to support the front of the window. It's going to keep it nice and square so that the front of the window, this windowsill, doesn't sag in the sun like my competitors' windows will, and allow air to infiltrate in here and allow the bugs and spiders to move in here. You'll notice, looking at the exterior of our window, that both the bottom and top sash have exactly the same size glass. This is because of the technology that we use in our frame design. Many of our competition use a much cheaper method called telescoping mainframes. And with the telescoping mainframe, what you do is you end up with a much smaller pane of glass in the top. It looks cheap. It's really not very attractive. It's not architecturally correct, but they do it because it saves them a buck or two when they're making the window. With ours, we make it so they're the same size because it looks much more attractive. Costs a little bit more to do it this way. However, that's what people would want their window to look like if they were making it themselves. You'll also notice on the outside of the window something you don't see, and that you would see on my competitors' windows. Since my competition all uses a cheap cam locking mechanism that sits right here, it's something that can easily be seen from a burglar if he's outside the house. He can look right in there. Not only does he see right where the lock is, he can even tell if you forgot to lock him or you didn't. And when he comes in there with that awl that I showed you before to pick open that lock, he knows exactly where to look for it. With the Bristol design, you can't see where those locks are because the lock mechanism is hidden inside. We use a sash stop in the corners of our window. Sash stop is another one of those things that adds a couple of bucks to the window. I mean, you probably got $3, $4 worth of material here and labor to put them in. The reason we use a sash stop is twofold. One, it hides the attachment screws so that you don't see the screws that are used to attach the window into the home. And secondly, when we snap that back into place, it makes for a safety stop so that when I open that window up, I don't have to worry about pinching my fingers in between the two sashes. Again, a little extra thought that we add to the window because we know how the window is going to be used and we want to make sure that it lasts well for you. If you look at the side of your window demonstration kit, you'll see a small window here. And that's so we can show this precision alignment clip. You won't find this feature on your competitors' windows, and typically they're not even going to talk about what goes on here. However, this part of the window is extremely important to the overall performance of the product. Once again, your cheap competition takes quality out of places where you can't see. This would be one of those places. Why is it important? When a window is installed in the home, it's attached in 4 places. However, this part of the window is where all the moving parts are, so you can't really run an attachment in there. Now typically the window is going into an opening that's no longer square. It might have been square 40, 50, 60 years ago when the house was built, but over time they get out of square. Now we're going to build a window that's perfectly square. However, in order to keep it square, we have to have something that we can use to adjust that window and square it up in the opening. The precision alignment clip is designed so that when the installer installs the window, he can perfectly adjust it so it's nice and square in the opening. No air infiltration here, no gaps here. Your competition will typically install their windows either using a cheap little screw apparatus, or they'll take a sheetrock screw and screw it through there, thereby messing with all of the moving parts here, or worse still, they'll take a wood shim and they'll jam that in there and break it off. And that's the most common application. They got a piece of wood jammed in there. Eventually, the wood falls down, drops into the bottom of the opening. What do I have here? Air gaps, a window that's no longer performing as it should. Our window is designed so that it performs well over time, performs well day one, and then if something ever was to happen, we can adjust it with those multiple adjustment points right from inside the window. Your competition, if they needed to adjust it, would actually have to take the window back out of the house, thereby tearing up the homeowner's home a second time. Again, one of the examples of quality that goes into our product, even in places you can't see. The first thing that most homeowners notice about the Bristol window on the inside is the thing that makes it stand out from all of its competition, and that is the design of our Q4 lock. Our Q4 lock doesn't look anything like all those other windows they saw at the home show. The first thing you notice that's different about the interior of the Bristol window is our Quattro 4 or Q4 lock. Every one of your competitions has some technology that looks like this. A cheap cam lock and a cheap thumb button. Cam locks and thumb buttons are really difficult for the homeowner to operate because they got to use both hands to do it. It requires the use of their fingers. It's sometimes folks that have fingernails that they manicure and take good care of can't quite get them into there to operate them. They're not very user friendly. Not only that, but they're easily spotted again from a burglar who's looking in from the exterior. And you got all this junk up here, it's kind of hard to clean around. We take away all that mess. The design of our Q4 lock rail actually allows us to have a nice, smooth, easy to clean surface here, not all junked up and cluttered. And the design of the Q4 lock itself is super easy to use as compared to the thumb buttons and cam locks. All you have to do, snap it over in one position to open it. One more click, tilts it in. Super easy. Invite the homeowner up. Let them try it. Let them see what an advantage that's going to be come cleaning day. If I look at the inside and on your sample, we've designed so you can easily remove the top and show the homeowner how the Q4 lock got its name. And it's because of the points of contact we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 locking positions right across that locking mechanism. And where do they go? Well, 2 of them go in here to the side jambs. Boom. Nice and locked in there tight. The Q4 lock locks into these Lexan keepers. Again, we use Lexan throughout the product because it's a super durable material. We want to make sure that the parts of this window last the 50 years that we warranty they're going to last, so we make sure we use heavy-duty materials like Lexan. We're so confident in the design of our Q4 locking system that we even back it up with a guarantee. For 50 years, we guarantee Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner that if anyone ever breaks in through a locked Bristol window, we'll cover your homeowner's deductible, up to $500, because we know that the strength and durability built into the Q4 locking system and our reinforcement and our triple panes of glass make this a window that's almost impossible to get through. Not only are the keepers made out of Lexan, but you'll also notice that these easy-to-use sash handles are also made out of Lexan. Typically what our competition does is they use a cheap vinyl extruded piece here that when you pull up on it, it kind of bends and distorts out of shape. It transfers all the stress onto the glass pack in my competitors' windows. It's not very good looking, and quite frankly, the edges of it are kind of sharp, so they can tear up the people's curtains and kind of tear up their sheer drapes. With ours, our Lexan handles are about twice as deep as one of those cheap little lift rails, so they're much easier to operate. And if you'll notice how easy it is to move that window sash up and down, I'm doing it with one finger. Part of that is because of the design of the lift handles, and the other part of that is because of the reinforcement that we use throughout our window. As we were talking earlier, and we showed you why reinforcement is important to the performance of the product over time, it's also important to the performance of the product as you use it daily. Reinforcing bars here, 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 and here allow that to stay nice and square as you lift that up and down. Our Lexan lift handles are actually mounted into the reinforcing bar. Typically what our competition does, again, is a cheap little piece that easily bends. whereas we're giving you all of this strength to lift that heavy piece of glass up and down, because they can get heavy. These pieces of glass can be 50, 60 pounds a piece, yet you'll always have one finger operation, just like that. One thing that homeowners love about our window is this little feature right here. This is our night latch or vent lock. You might hear it called one of those two things. But it basically has a function of keeping the window secure for the homeowner, even if they want to vent a little bit. Pop it open. Look how strong this is. That sample's close to 70 pounds, yet I'm able to lift the entire sample up just based on this. Why? Because once again, made out of Lexan. Nice and strong, stainless steel retainer clip, strong enough to support the weight of that entire sample, but leave you enough room here so you can vent the home without having to worry about a child or an animal accidentally tumbling out of the window. One thing you'll notice when I tilt in the window is this part of the window right here. This is called the interlock. The interlock is the part of the window that keeps the two sashes nice and tight. As wind loads on the window from the exterior, our knife edge interlock actually pushes a little bit tighter so that no air infiltrates up and around the sashes. Some of my competitors don't even have an interlock, and all of my competitors that have an interlock have a great big gap here and here, because when they put their welded sashes into the pinch welder, they have to cut it in on either side in order to get it welded. We assemble our interlock as part of the Q4 locking system, and we put it on top of our welded sashes. So having that done in that fashion, we're able to extend it all the way over so it goes right into the weather stripping. No air around the interlock, no air through the interlock. Again, you saw how easy it was for me to lift that sash up and down with one finger, and part of that is because of our balance design. We're using the best balance technology in the world, and that is the block and tackle balance system. You can see this heavy-duty parachute cord that we use to operate our block and tackle balance system. Our block and tackle balance system is designed so that we can put various different sizes here. As a matter of fact, at the plant, we stock over 100 different sizes. What does that mean to the homeowner? That no matter what size Bristol window fits their home, it'll always operate nice and easy as this sample does. We use a balance cover over the top of the balances. That keeps dust and dirt and debris and grease from attaching to it and looking unsightly, and it also protects it, okay? Balance covers on either side, and then a sash stop. One thing that's really neat about the Bristol window that my competition can't do is because of this design right here. And that is, when you tilt the window in, you don't have to worry about it popping out. Those of you who have been in the window business for a while know that most vinyl windows, you tilt them into about this angle here and the sash comes out. Problem with that is, it often comes out when you don't want it to come out. It comes out, weighs 60 pounds, ends up on the floor, it's on your toe, you're injured, I got a broken window. Hello, Mr. Window Man, please come fix my window, I broke it. Okay? All because of that problem with that design. With the Bristol window, we've incorporated this safety lock. And the safety lock locks right into our balance shoe, nice and tight, and it keeps that sash from coming out. The safety latch can be removed and allow you to take the sash out of the opening if you want to. So if the homeowner did ever need to take it out for some reason, they could do that. However, it will never come out accidentally. Another feature of our shoe design is this big red brake mechanism that we've got built in here. That big red brake mechanism works in conjunction with our pivot pin and engages inside that track so that when we tilt the window in, again, it doesn't get cockeyed on the homeowner and fall out and injure somebody. That big braking system is much better than what your competition has. Your competition typically has one little tiny piece of plastic that kind of gouges into the side here. With ours, much more braking action there. Even our pivot pin adds a little extra value to the homeowner. This is a Zamax zinc pivot pin. It's made out of Zamax zinc because Zamax zinc doesn't corrode. I mean, another thing they make out of Zamax zinc is Hot Wheels cars. You kids who had a Hot Wheels car as a kid know that you could hardly break them even if you stood on them or stepped on them. They didn't break. And guess what? They never rusted or corroded either. Well, we use Zamax zinc in our pivot pins because it has those properties. Another patented feature of the Bristol window is our windjammer system. Our windjammer system is designed so that on either side of the sashes, we have something that keeps the wind from blowing around the sashes and infiltrating in the home. When I snap that sash in place, boom, you can hear it snap into place, thump. You'll see this rounded, flexible piece that snaps into the side jamb, locking in place the sash and keeping wind from infiltrating around the sashes. The windjammer system is another unique feature that you'll only find on the Bristol window. None of your competition has it. This part of the window here is called the glazing bead. Glazing is a fancy word for putting the glass into the sash. Okay, we call that glazing. Your Bristol window is equipped with a unique glazing system not found on any of your competition's windows. Your competition typically uses what they call a wet glazing system. And a wet glazing system is where you take a piece of glass and you glue it into the sash using some type of double-sided tape or perhaps silicone, but in some manner they glue the glass into the sash. This is not a great system because, as we know, vinyl expands and contracts at 7 times the rate of glass. So if I've got vinyl expanding and contracting and pulling on my glass pack, which is glued to the vinyl, guess where all that stress goes? That's right, it goes right to the glass pack, right to the seal in between those two pieces of glass, therefore pulling it apart, leading to premature seal failure. The Bristol window uses a patented dry glazing system. Our dry glazing system snaps into place, holding that glass in there tight under pressure. Again, we've tested this window to 190 miles an hour, so you'll never have to worry about this failing over time. However, your glass is locked into place and not glued into place. So as the window vinyl expands and contracts, we don't transfer that stress to our glass plaque. That's one of the reasons that we're able to give a 50-year warranty for seal failure. I showed you how easy it is using the Q4 locking system to tilt your window into clean. The top sash operates even easier, if you can imagine such a thing. Watch this. That's all it takes to bring it in. Yet, snaps into place nice and tight, tested to 190 miles an hour for wind infiltration. How do we accomplish that? Well, combination of technologies once again. The windjammer system and a head design which is backed up with that Mylar wool pile weather stripping and has a bent-in design like that. So when we take a piece of sash rail and pop it up in place, you'll see no magnets, no glue, nothing holding it in place other than the tightness of the Bristol design. We design our window throughout with features that will keep the weather out and last forever. The other advantage to using the windjammer system to tilt in our top sash is that we don't have to junk up the top of our rail with thumb buttons. Because when my competition puts thumb buttons on there, what they've actually done is created a system that allows for air gaps. With ours, nice and tight. No air gaps across the top either. The combination of technologies, sill design, interlock, windjammer system, all contribute to an outstanding wind infiltration rating for this window. As a matter of fact, the government specification for air infiltration is a 0.3. This window is rated at a 0.08 for air infiltration. Many, many times better than government specification. And you know, that's pretty typical of the Bristol product. Government specification right now, as of the filming of this video, for U values of 0.3, this window here is going to be about 30% better than that government specification. We don't do things that are just good enough. We do things that are done the right way. At the beginning of the product demonstration, we talked about how the product demonstration ties everything up for the homeowner. In step 5, we discussed the various frame alternatives they had and show them how the Bristol technology is the best choice for them. During the glass alternatives presentation in step 6, we showed them how each of the various pieces of glass perform and why the Bristol outperforms the competition. During the demonstration, we showed the homeowner how those technologies combine with the other features that we have in the window to give the homeowner an array of benefits that they cannot find with any other window product. A great way to tie this up right now is to use the heater test. Use your standard heater and place it to the window. Inside your sample, you'll have a piece of glass down on the bottom, which is double pane, and then our Bristol triple clean glass at the top. If you take this heater and you hold it here and let the homeowner hold it, their hand to it, I can feel that heat coming through there already. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, feel how easily the heat transfers through that window. That's what the competition is going to sell you, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. Now let's put your hand up on the top with the Bristol glass. Cool as a cucumber. And you know what? I can keep my hand there and I can keep this heater there for hours. We can talk about anything you want to talk about, and I'll never have to worry about burning my fingers with this Bristol glass. It's a great demonstration because not only does it show how the Bristol glass performs versus the competition, but again, how all of the technologies combine to give the homeowner the best value on the market today. Isn't this a great window? No other window on the market combines the technologies that we do to give the homeowner a super durable product with outstanding energy efficiency. We've taken the homeowner all the way to this step. We've showed them the glass, we've showed them the frames, we've demonstrated the product. Inside your 10-step manual are each of those steps, plus the other steps of the sale in detail. Many, many more things that we couldn't even begin to include in this video are included in here with helpful suggestions and words you can use in front of the homeowner that help you convey what a great value that you're giving them. I'm going to turn it back over to Don, and Don's going to talk about how to wrap up this part of the presentation with the homeowner and take you on to the next step, which will be closing the sale. Don?
Okay, we're essentially finished with the window demonstration. We're not going to cover the rest of the steps today, but your next step is to get them priced out correctly and begin the pricing process. Now remember, after you finish the product demonstration, the next step is called pre-close and price presentation. It is not called get the order. There is a step here where you put the numbers on the table where you have to work out the customer's budget. It is step number 8. Very, very important that you learn that. Read through the manual. Get an idea of what we're talking about. Sit with your sales manager and get that process worked out. Let me tell you something about giving window demonstrations. If you give a good window demonstration, you're going to get some of your orders relatively easily, even if you bungle the next steps up. However, one of the things that separates the big earners from the regular earners is knowing how to use step 8. Presenting your price, getting them interested, teasing them a little bit without giving all of your discounts away. Then, of course, you get to the point where you're ready to create urgency. And there is a whole 3-step system in the book for you to learn there. And once you're ready to create urgency, the only thing that moves people to make a decision tonight rather than stall is money. And you must learn how to use money in a creative and classy, credible way to get the people to decide they don't have to think about it, they don't have to shop around, they're ready to make a decision tonight. And the last step, of course, is one you think of in the long term. This covers the days, weeks, and months and years ahead you're going to be working, selling Bristol windows for your company. Always try to replace the lead. Leads are the lifeblood of our business, and the most expensive thing your boss does is buy leads for you. So take it on yourself that every job you sell, you're going to work hard to replace the lead. How do you do that? How about try something simple? Ask the people for names. It is amazing and will amaze you that if you asked everybody you talk to, and that's going to average 10 or 12 a week, to give you the names of other people that might like to hear about windows, it will amaze you how many names you'll get. And those names will turn into demonstrations, which will turn into sales, which will turn into commissions. And I appreciate your paying all this time and attention to this tape. I hope it helps you in a career where you can make an awful lot of money and create a lot of good things for your family. Thank you. See you next time.